5:00 a.m. on August 7th, 2025. Russia has deployed a row of TM-62 anti-tank mines ready to tear apart any tank daring to cross. They believe they had set a perfect trap for Ukraine. Big mistake. Ukraine is about to turn the tables, turning Russia's own explosives into a dazzling fireworks display worth $2 million, reducing their strategic supply route to dust. In a darkened bunker near Kharkiv, an Iron Brigade operator grips his joystick, eyes locked on a flickering screen. The target is a 300-foot concrete bridge near Novopetrovka, but this isn't just some forgotten slab over a creek. This is the main artery. This is the Iron River that pumps blood from the massive supply depots in Belgorod straight to the Russian war machine grinding away at the Kharkiv front. Every tank, every artillery shell, every truck full of fresh Russian troops going south has to cross this single point. Taking it out doesn't just cause a traffic jam. It starves an entire offensive. The instrument for this reversal of fortune is a Ukrainian FPV drone, a Queen guided by a steady hand from the legendary Iron Brigade miles away. Its grainy camera feed locks onto the bridge, but its true target isn't the concrete, it's the neat row of TM-62 mines, each a 16-pound TNT ticking time bomb. This wasn't some wild guess. At 04:45 a.m. high above, a Lelica 100 had already done its job, its lens catching the glint of TM-62 mines under dawn's first light. Now it's the Queen's turn to strike. The Russians, in their genius, had laid out a welcome mat of high explosives. They just never thought someone would ring the doorbell from the sky. Through the Queen's camera, the bridge fills the screen. Less than 2 minutes to impact. The journey from the border was a masterclass in exploiting physics. For the first 10 miles, the Queen flew at just 130 feet, using the Earth's own curvature as a shield against the big dumb eyes of Russian long-range radar. Simple but effective. But intelligence from a Lelica 100 reconnaissance drone hours earlier had revealed a new problem. The Russians weren't just looking anymore. They were listening. They deployed a stealthy acoustic barrier, a network of buried sensors tuned to catch the low hum of an FPV drone's motor at 100-500 Hz. The Queen dives lower, skimming treetops at 60 miles per hour, its motor humming like a predator closing in. But at 05:04 a.m., a new threat looms. Flying low was no longer enough. To pass the Queen had to become a ghost. This is where the Queen's design becomes the mission's ace in the hole. Unlike a quadcopter that had dropped like a rock, the Queen's fixed-wing frame has an impressive glide ratio of 8:1, covering 8 feet forward for every 1 foot it drops. In the bunker, the operator from the Iron Brigade sees the acoustic fence approaching on his map. He takes a deep breath, and with a flick of a switch, he does the one thing that goes against every pilot's instinct: he kills the engine. 05:05 a.m. The angry whine of the motor vanishes. Complete silence. To cross the 500-foot-wide kill zone, he now has to trade precious altitude for silent distance. The altitude counter on his screen begins to bleed numbers: 125 feet, 120, 115. His hands on the joystick are as steady as stone, making tiny, precise adjustments to the ailerons, fighting a crosswind that threatens to push him off course and into the dirt. He is no longer a drone pilot, he is a glider pilot in the world's most high-stakes competition. He clears the last sensor. With another flick, the engine screams back to life, clawing for altitude. The 15-second gamble paid off. The acoustic wall has been breached, but at 05:05 a.m., the silence breaks, waking a very expensive, very angry guard dog. 6 miles away, an operator in a Panzer S-1 command cabin watched a solid red dot appear on his screen. The acoustic sensors had worked perfectly. They told him exactly where to look. Now, this Panzer is the bridge's personal bodyguard. It's a $15 million machine with missiles that can swat jets from the sky and cannons that spit fire. The Russian operator could have launched a missile right then and there. An easy multi-million-dollar kill on a $500 drone. But he had new orders. The latest directive from Moscow wasn't just destroy, it was capture. They wanted one of these Ukrainian drones alive to pick it apart and learn its secrets. So instead of reaching for the missile trigger, he reached for a different console. With a few keystrokes, he painted the drone, locking its exact speed, altitude, and heading. Think of him as a spotter. He wasn't aiming a missile. He was aiming a spotlight, pointing the drone out for a different kind of hunter. He hit a button labeled Transmit. That single command zapped the drone's data to a nearby Krasuka 4 electronic warfare truck. The Panzer's job as the spotter was done. Krasuka's job as the hijacker was just beginning. The Russian hijacker in his Krasuka 4 truck went to work. He didn't try to jam the signal. He overpowered it. His system began blasting a command signal on the exact same frequency as the Ukrainian operator, but with significantly more wattage. It's a simple law of electronics: a receiver will always lock onto the strongest signal. It's like two people shouting commands at a dog. The dog listens to the louder voice. In the bunker, the Iron Brigade operator felt the change instantly. The joystick went dead in his hands, but his video feed was still crystal clear. This wasn't jamming, which would kill the video too. This was a hostile takeover. On his screen, he watched the Queen start a slow, steady bank away from the bridge. He tried sending commands, dive, turn left, anything, but it was no use. The Russian signal was stronger, closer. The hijack was working. Feeling confident, the Russian operator made a critical error born from curiosity. He sent a complex command to engage the drone's 4x digital zoom, trying to get a better look at the warhead it was carrying. That command, different from a simple directional input, created a tiny data anomaly. A small blinking icon appeared on the Ukrainian operator's screen. Signal inauthentic. It was the system's cry for help. It was the window he needed. He couldn't win a shouting match with the Krasuka, so he decided to make the drone go deaf. His thumb slams the let-go switch at 05:07 a.m. This wasn't a software command, it was a hardware-level instruction that sent a single irreversible pulse to the drone's flight computer. The order severed all connections to the radio receiver module. The Queen was now deaf-blind and dumb to the outside world. It was listening only to itself. The Russian operator stared at his console, bewildered. His joystick was now as dead as the Ukrainians'. The drone he was flying just seconds ago was now accelerating on a perfect attack vector entirely on its own. The Ukrainian operator was now a spectator, watching his own programming come to life. The drone's AI brain, now in sole command, did two things. First, it used its onboard inertial measurement unit, its internal sense of balance, to correct the Russian-induced turn and stabilize its flight path. Second, its simple optical AI compared the live camera feed to the stored satellite image of the target it had been given before launch. The AI found a match, the bridge, and it calculated the most direct path to interception. The Queen had remembered its purpose. The Russian hijacker, his face pale in the green glow of his console, realized his new toy had just broken its leash. His voice, now laced with panic, crackled over the comms line to the Panzer S-1 unit. "Hijack failed target is autonomous and re-engaging. Destroy it now." In the Panzer cabin, the operator's brief moment of calm vanished. The time for clever tricks was over. His sole purpose now was to turn that rogue drone into a cloud of scrap metal. The Panzer's turret roared back to life, its radar locking onto the Queen with terrifying speed. The drone, now flying a straight, predictable line towards the bridge, was the easiest target he could ask for. "2 missiles away," he barked. Two 57E6 missiles leaped from their launch tubes, a $2 million double tap screaming through the air at over 2,000 miles per hour. On the Panzer's display, the math was a foregone conclusion. The intercept course was perfect. Impact in 7.4 seconds. In a concealed command post near the Kharkiv front, the Ukrainian operator watched two red triangles. The missiles converge on the single green dot representing his drone. His hands were useless gripping the dead joystick. All he could do was trust the code. The mission now rested on a final desperate gambit he had programmed into the AI weeks ago, the terminal evasive maneuver. It was a piece of code designed to exploit a missile's greatest strength and its greatest weakness, its speed. A proximity fuse on a missile like the 57E6 needs a few milliseconds to detect a target and trigger detonation. The AI's plan wasn't to outrun the missile, it was to not be where the missile thought it was going to be. At T-minus 1.8 seconds to impact, the Queen's AI executed the command. It didn't jink or turn. It instantly deployed its flaps and cut power to the motor. The effect was brutal. The Queen didn't glide. It stalled, its aerodynamic lift vanishing in an instant. It dropped 30 feet out of the sky like a stone. The two Russian missiles, their seekers aimed at a point in space the drone was supposed to occupy, found nothing but empty air. They blazed past their proximity fuses, failing to register a target. A moment later, they self-destructed two silent, useless flashes in the distance. The operator let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The gambit had worked, but the drone was now tumbling critically low and out of control. With a surge of power, the AI fought to stabilize. The motor screamed, the wings leveled out, battered but functional. 0508 hours. The Queen was alive, and its camera was still pointed directly at the bridge. There were no more missiles, no more hijackers. The path was clear. The Queen was flying ugly, but she was flying. Battered by the missile's shockwave, its AI fought to keep the wings level. On the operator's screen, the feed was a shaky, heart-stopping view of the final seconds of a very personal journey. There was no more strategy, no more evasion. There was only the target. The AI, now in complete control, wasn't aiming for the bridge itself. That was amateur hour. It was aiming for the detonator that Russia had so kindly provided. Its optical sensor locked onto the center TM62 mine in the neat little row. The bridge filled the screen. Impact. There wasn't a roar, just a sharp, violent crack as the drone's 2-pound shaped charge performed its one and only duty. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the entire bridge answered back. The drone's warhead was just the key. Russia's own 160 pounds of TNT spread across 10 TM62 mines was the door they had locked themselves behind. The drone's impact didn't just explode, it created a focused shockwave of over 1,000 psi. Now here's why that number matters. The heavy-duty pressure fuse on a TM62 mine is designed to need around 400 psi to trigger enough to ignore a soldier stepping on it, but not a tank rolling over it. The drone's tiny warhead didn't just press that button, it smashed it with more than double the force required. The math was not in Russia's favor. That first mine detonating wasn't a single event, it was the first firecracker in a string of dynamite. Its own 16-pound explosion sent a new, more powerful shockwave ripping across the bridge deck, triggering the mines next to it. It was a chain reaction of sympathetic detonation, a beautiful, brutal physics lesson playing out in milliseconds. A wave of destruction fed by Russian explosives tore from the center of the bridge outwards. The bridge itself was rated to withstand maybe 500 psi of pressure. The combined force of 10 TM62 mines going off at once hit it with a sledgehammer blow of over 2,000 psi. The concrete support pillars didn't just crack, they turned to gravel. The steel rebar inside, designed to hold the bridge together, was vaporized by a 3,000-degree fireball. Where a 300-foot strategic bridge once stood, there was now just a cloud of dust, a gaping hole in Russia's war plans, and the faint echo of a very expensive mistake. The strategic result was immediate and catastrophic for Russia. The Iron River had been dammed. The tanks and supply trucks heading for the Kharkiv front were now sitting ducks on a highway to nowhere 20 miles from their next fuel stop. By 0600 a.m., according to analysts, the total cost to Russia wasn't just the $2 million bridge. When you add in the stranded equipment and the logistical nightmare that followed, it was a $5 million wound inflicted by a single drone. So the lesson for today: never underestimate a warrior from the Iron Brigade with a joystick and a deep understanding of physics. And more importantly, never ever leave your own explosives where your enemy can find them. What's your take on the Ukrainian tactic? And what lesson do you think Russia can learn from this? Let me know your analysis in the comments below.